This chart shows the massive gap in annual military spending between two adversaries. The United States allocates over $800 billion to its military every year. Iran's entire defense budget sits between $25 and $30 billion. With a budget that large, the United States builds multi-billion-dollar aircraft carrier strike groups and fields entire squadrons of stealth jets. Yet in the first 100 hours of recent fighting, the U.S. and Israel burned through nearly $7 to $8 billion strictly on defense. For decades, military planners assumed that pouring vast amounts of money into high-tech weaponry guaranteed a swift victory. But in modern asymmetric warfare, the winner is determined by a completely different metric: who can bankrupt the other side first? To understand how a smaller military drains a superpower, look at the Iranian Shahed drone. The Shahed is a low-cost, unmanned aerial vehicle specifically designed to crash directly into its target. Each unit costs only about $30,000 to produce, but it carries 18 kilograms of explosives. That payload is large enough to completely level a multi-story building. To stop them, defending forces rely on systems like the Iron Dome and Patriot batteries. These are advanced air defense networks that use radar to track incoming threats and fire highly complex interceptor missiles to destroy them. This diagram visualizes the core problem. A single interceptor fired by the U.S. or Israel costs between $3 and $4 million, while the drone it shoots down costs $30,000. That is a ratio of roughly 130 to 1. Multiply that out. If an attacker launches a wave of 10 drones costing $300,000, the defense is forced to spend upwards of $70 million on interceptor missiles just to survive the attack. The strategy here relies entirely on mathematics rather than physical destruction. The goal is to intentionally force the defending military to deplete its finite, highly expensive inventory of interceptors. By continuously firing cheap, low-end drones, the attacker successfully turns state-of-the-art defense shields into crippling economic liabilities. This financial drain is paired with a highly resilient command structure. In one concentrated strike, U.S. and Israeli forces used F-15 fighter jets to assassinate 49 of Iran's top military leaders. The tactical assumption was straightforward: eliminate the supreme leadership, paralyze the enemy's forces, and trigger an immediate regime collapse. But the assassinations instantly triggered a pre-planned, decentralized command protocol. Control fractured outward to 31 regional commanders. Each of these commanders suddenly possessed independent authority over massive, hidden arsenals of ballistic missiles, long-range rockets that follow a fixed, arcing flight path to their targets, making them completely impossible to neutralize in a single strike. This map shows the ultimate geographic leverage point in this network, the Strait of Hormuz. It is a narrow, highly trafficked waterway between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. Looking closely, 20% of the world's crude oil flows directly through this passage. Simply threatening to close this strait causes commercial shipping and global insurance rates to skyrocket, creating the very real risk of a multi-trillion-dollar global recession. The regional commanders do not need to drop a literal nuclear weapon. The ability to hold the global economy hostage acts as an invisible nuclear bomb, capable of causing devastating damage without physical fallout. The endgame of this asymmetric strategy is leverage. By making the ongoing conflict incredibly costly to the global economy, the attacker forces the rest of the world to step in and demand a ceasefire. There is also a terrifying physical toll. Strikes on oil depots have ignited millions of tons of crude oil, creating dense, toxic clouds known as black rain that blanket the region and poison local populations. And it is not only the United States struggling against this chaos. Global powers like China are watching their own exported defense systems, like the HQ-9, a long-range surface-to-air missile platform, completely fail to stop incoming attacks in this asymmetric arena. When high-end weapons fail and oil prices spike, smaller nations are forced onto a diplomatic tightrope. They have to constantly balance their own economic survival against the heavy demands of their military alliances. This places a massive premium on strategic autonomy. Nations like India act as critical balancing powers, leveraging their independent foreign policy to negotiate with both the West and Iran when regional stability collapses. As consumer-grade technology scales, war becomes remarkably cheap for the underdog and unsustainably expensive for the established superpower. The age of the trillion-dollar military monopoly is officially over.